Hello, and welcome to Morph Minutes, presented by Studio M Financial. Studio M Financial exists to help you change the sound of your money through financial education and coaching. I'm your host, Katrena Pitts, instructor and financial coach.
Hey friends, how's it going? This is Katrena from Studio Financial, and welcome to another episode of Morph Minutes. This is our podcast that we have to talk about different personal finance topics. Sometimes we'll do some education, we'll do a PowerPoint, we'll walk through some case studies. But today, I wanted to introduce you all to a colleague of mine, Bert Delgado. I met him through our AFCPE program, so he is also a fellow AFC and working on his accreditation. So today we're going to talk about just various things that we see as practitioners, and also just kind of bring you all in on some of the conversations that Bert and I have had over the last several months, just personal finances and kind of what we see with our clients. So just kind of give you a behind the scenes view of what we are thinking about, and what we're seeing, just ways. So hopefully it's helpful to you all as well. So again, thank you and welcome. And Bert, welcome to the podcast. So how are you doing today?
Thank you for the invite. Thank you for allowing me and taking me as my first podcast. So thank you. It's been great working with you and just doing things together for the past couple months.
Hey, I've enjoyed it. You're welcome. Very, very happy to have you here. So if you could just take a couple minutes and tell our audience about who you are, the financials, kind of what led you to this point where you are, and kind of what you would like to do as a practitioner going forward.
Sure. So it all starts with my father. I'm Cuban descent. My parents came over from Cuba and they did the whole immigration thing. Fast forward to 1970 and we move into Pembroke Pines, Florida. My dad makes friends with a neighbor. And my neighbor starts talking to my dad about finances and investing, that type of thing. And since then, he's taught us, my brother and I, and my mom, about money and how to use it as a tool. And it's something that stuck with me all my life. And even through my career, I work in Spanish television, but even throughout my career, I have been able to help people plan for their future, deal with their monthly budgets and cash flow, investing, their 401ks. So it's something I've always done as a side thing and just helping people because I really try and help people take that myth away about money, that it's an easy thing, that it's a difficult thing. The thing is how to manage that money to work for you. Uh, in debt, in saving, in investing, right? That's what I like to talk about. And today, I have my own little company, Vivid Financial Counselors. It's doing pretty well. I can't complain. And it's always great to talk to people and help them get through this thing called money.
Yeah, I co-sign on all of that. Not necessarily the experience part because we're the same person, but I definitely co-sign on the helping people manage it. I love the removing the myths, the mystery to it, right? It is a resource. It's a tool. How can you best utilize that tool? And sometimes that gap is really just one piece of information, one piece of data, one thing that you didn't see, and kind of bringing those things to light and seeing the proverbial light come on for people. I co-sign. I love that. More than one day. Okay, so let me ask you a quick question. So was it easy, given that you kind of have a history, maybe with your family, of talking about money and financial practices? Were those conversations easy? Like, did you all talk about that regularly? Was that, pull your son aside or your dad pull you aside and say, hey, son, let's talk about money? Like, how did you learn that? Was it formal, informal? Talk to.
I would say it's informal. It wasn't like we sat around a table and talked about it. It was just day-to-day experiences. I remember when I was in high school or finishing high school and I wanted to get certified to become a diver and I wanted to buy my own equipment at that time, a scuba diver. And, he taught me how to go and research, make sure I get the right equipment. And he also helped me get my first personal loan back then. And that's how I learned it. And the same thing, just going shopping at the grocery store. It wasn't easy back then for them. They were still not high income earners, and we had to live day to day and that type of thing. So it was through examples that I learned.
Okay. because I would say for me, sort of listening to your story and kind of thinking through my story, I would say for my mom's side of the family, much easier conversations about money management. For my grandfathers, my mother, and all of my other siblings, very different on my dad's side, having those conversations, and almost to the point where they just didn't have them at all. It was pretty, we don't have the money. They were very, very poor. So there wasn't, I guess in their minds, there wasn't anything to talk about, right? Because we don't have it, so what are we going to talk about? So it's sort of filtering that down to my brother and I, having, it was a challenge having those conversations. And while my mom tried really, really hard, I just wasn't really open to listening to it. Thinking back, 20, 25 years ago, man, I wish I'd taken all of that knowledge that mom had from grandpa, because grandpa uh, was a farmer, but through his farming, he put multiple kids through college debt free, which, oh my, I mean, I realize it was the 50s and the 60s, but still considerable money. 12 of siblings that parents had. So I wish I would have gathered that knowledge a little bit more in my youth than what I did. So having to learn really by kind of bumps and bruises versus having those, even in formal positions, I certainly set a slightly different pathway, but I still learned and it's fine. But just, I always love hearing other people's stories, thinking, how did they get to where they are? What did they learn? Because that shapes so much of how we interact with money, right? How we learn or didn't learn. And that goes back to your myths. What do we believe to be true about it based on what we did or did not learn, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I think you hit it head on. It really is about what and we haven't, what we did and what we didn't learn, right? We learned by example. Today, there's a lot of people that are not learning from example. They're learning from social media. They see the exuberance and the bling bling, and they got to have this and they got to have that, without realizing that they're going outside of their means, right? And there's no look, one of the things I also remember in high school, home economic classes, they don't teach about in school anymore about that type of finance, that type of home stuff. And I think that's what's missing today, and that's why people get in trouble with the credit cards,
Yeah,
maybe even student loans and that type of thing. So I like to help people through that. I love it when it clicks and they see, oh yeah, I can do this.
yeah.
That's fulfilling for me.
Agreed. I think we both have hearts of teachers. I'm just gonna, we love for people to learn and develop and start progressing forward, right? Not just, I want you to hear how smart I am because we're smart. And I want you to take that knowledge, whether it's my mistakes or not, take that knowledge and work for you so that you can start achieving those things. So I want to take one little thing that you said of sort of what we see when it comes to social media or even news media, or probably more social media than anything else, because we absorb so much of our content through Instagram, through Twitter, through TikTok, through YouTube, you name it. There's probably platforms that I'm too old to know about because I'm an old head. So the fact that I know about TikTok is probably about the extent of my social media knowledge. But we see these sort of small snippets of success, sort of 30-second exposures of, we're doing this, we're seeing that. But what I don't think people fully understand, I want to get your thoughts on this, is that there are behaviors and habits that have been developed over a long period of time that helped individuals get to where they are. I think there's an assumption that rich people just have silver spoons and they've learned and grown with it their entire life, but really the percentage of that are really to the contrary. But I want to talk a little bit about the behind the scenes part and really kind of give our listeners an awareness of their financial habits and behaviors that if you put those principles in place, they will help you start building a healthy and positive financial life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, agreed. I think that the first thing that people need to understand is what is their cash flow. I know a lot of people use the word budget, right? Let's create the budget. Let's create the budget. And I think a budget is a long-term tool that you can use to project for the year. But every month, things come and go, just like in a river, and things flow, right? And you need to adjust. So to me, cash flow, understanding your cash flow is more important than having the budget and being able to uh, modify to whatever comes up. That's number one. And then you have the all famous emergency fund. If you don't something always is going to happen unexpected to everybody, right? So you need to have that fund where you can reach in and say, okay, I got to do this. I got to get 4 new tires. I have to buy the new laundry machine, right? The important part is to make sure we replace that money. So I think those are 2 things that are top of mind, key things that have to be considered.
Okay, so let me take the first one first. So we talked about cash flow. So let's talk about how we would even build that habit of understanding our cash flow. So we have these 2 things: money coming in, money flowing out, right? So whether that's our traditional income, entrepreneurial income, side hustle, social security, whatever the income is, it has to accomplish something, and it is ultimately going somewhere. It's not a savings account. It's not just banking up and growing in our bank account. It's going and doing something. So how would we walk through developing the habit of understanding our cash flow? We look at our income, we look at our expenses, we look at the timing. What are those things that we would actually do to build financial awareness of our cash flow?
So I think there's a couple things to think about when you ask that question. First question is what are your goals? Do you want to plan for a vacation? Do you want to plan for your kids' college? Is it retirement? What are the goals? And then you have to sit down and figure out what is that income coming in? What are those expenses that are going out? And really prioritize your goals first. Is your goal going to get a coffee every day? Or is your goal really you want to take a vacation next week or next year? And you have to modify that behavior going to get coffee every day to maybe 3 times a week. I'm not telling you to stop doing it, but it's really understanding and prioritize your goals and figure out what you want to do, understanding what the means are.
Yeah.
And then the second word is discipline, right? Once you understand what your income and your expenses are, having that discipline to be able to modify when you have to. Now, I know you're shaking your head no, but that discipline could be automated. You can automate it, your money coming into your checking account, and $10 a month you automate to a savings account, you don't even see it.
Yeah. I'm only shaking my head as a proxy for other people who will hear that dreaded word discipline. So I am a visual representation of what our audience is thinking and cringe at the moment. But I do think that there's benefit to not even how do I say this? To your motivation point, don't complicate it. Don't feel like it is a hardship to do it. Just push the button, auto recurring, and then just let it work in the background, right? Because you're not even thinking about, oh my gosh, just lost $10. Oh my gosh, $100 went somewhere else. No, there's a reason, there's a purpose in mind. So it sort of gives your brain space to think about other things. So sometimes that discipline is really just pushing the button and then letting everything else work its way out in that process.
Exactly. Listen, it's just like your paycheck every year. I shouldn't say every year, but they're always the government's always taking money out, right? You got to pay your taxes. You might look at that, you might say it's, oh my God, but it's automated. You really don't feel it, right? It just happens. So if you can take that concept and to savings and your first expense should be to yourself. I understand that the rent is important and groceries and all that's important, but there's nothing more important than yourself.
Agreed. And I don't think, I think that's where we as practitioners can, I won't say improve, but emphasize, right? Because sometimes I do think, sometimes I do think we get very, what's their expenses? Do they have money for this? Do they have money for that? Can they do this? Can they do that? And then we put secondary, how are they taking care of their household? We'll say you should have an emergency. We'll say you should build up savings, but we don't really frame it all eloquently and regularly. If you are paying yourself, you're taking care of you first. If you are not taking care of the rent, doesn't matter, right? If you aren't taking care of who's going to get the groceries? The groceries doesn't matter. The light bill doesn't matter. You need to make sure that you are in a stable place, and then everything else falls from that. I want to go back to one other thing that you said, because this goes back to the behaviors and habits that we're talking about and the cash flow. So how would we even how do you recommend we think about how much we need to save? So we say you need to have an emergency fund. Okay, that's great. But how much do we need to save? And then how do we need to actually factor that into our monthly budget, quarterly budget, whatever? So let's start with the first one. How are we even defining the emergency savings? And then how do we actually allocate that to?
So first, I want to make sure everyone understands what is an emergency fund, right? Because an emergency fund, there's misconceptions out there. The emergency fund is truly money that you put aside to when you have a situation that whether the car breaks or you lose your job, something happens that if you don't have funds, you have to put it on a credit card and
Sure.
then pay off the credit card. So the emergency fund is to have available money for those true emergencies. Now, that how much to have in there, it is good to assume to have at least 3 to 6 months of your expenses, total expenses, in a high yield savings account. Now, with that said, someone that has a monthly expense of $3,000, I'm not talking about taking $1,000 a month and putting it away. You might have to start with $50, $100 a month and build that fund. The topic here is starting, taking
Right.
that first step to create that fund. And it will happen. And it will give you a sense of peace of mind when you see that money growing, saying, you know what, I'm ready for that.
Right. And I'll go one step further on that. And this is just me, Katrina. Um, so when we talk about the monthly expenses that sets our baseline for our emergency fund, for me, it's a what are those things that I need? You can look at it one of two ways. The main way is what are those things that I need to take care of and pay for that actually keep my house going. So
Right.
utility, right, rent, your mortgage, transportation. If it's loss of job, you're going to need to be able to get back and forth someplace for interviews. Even with the insertion of technology, some people really want you to come on site for those interviews. So do you have reliable transportation? So there's kind of a cut line of what are those four walls or main things you need to take care of. So you need to feed yourself. And then there's just kind of another way you can think about it is what are those things that have an actual due date and a due amount? Meaning the light bill needs to be paid, insurance needs to be paid. There's a credit card bill that needs to get paid. Otherwise, we're really going to start having more long-term challenges. So my point is, in some instances, not everything in your budget is going to have to be accounted for when you're getting that baseline for your emergency fund, right? Things like Hulu, things like, your YouTube video, the things of that nature, while they may be important, they may fall below the cut line for a temporary period of time for you to actually allocate that into your budget. Because sometimes your eyes get really big when people say your monthly expenses. You're like, well, geez, I spend, $5,000 a month or $6,000 a month. Do I really need to save 36 grand or whatever? And sometimes it's really a matter of parsing out what really needs to be paid for, and then what are some things that can maybe last for a couple of months until income is flowing again. So get your thoughts on that. Sometimes I have to like think about instead of that big number, really what actually has to be covered in my monthly budget for me to move through this temporary season.
Yeah, I agree with you. It is about prioritizing, and it is about starting somewhere. Exactly what you said. If it's $5,000 a month, you can't put $1,000 a week or a paycheck away. It just can't happen. So you prioritize those expenses, but start somewhere. $50 a paycheck, $100 a month, $500 a month. But the ultimate goal is to be able to cover all your expenses somewhere. But you
So
have to start small, right? Agreed.
yeah,
I agree with what you're saying.
yeah, agreed. So financial habits, and this sort of also goes into spending habits a little bit, because again, they didn't just start today or overnight. They've been building and building, building. Most times, completely unaware by your average consumer. I will put myself in that category until I, kind of got slapped in the face with reality of, oh man, we have some real spending problems that we need to address here. And reality is way harsher than a very loving, kind of parental hug. Honey, we need to talk about some things. Overdue credit card bills and overdraft is a much harsher way to realize that you have good quality controls on your spending. But so those habits, they didn't just come overnight. But let's talk about how we recognize those habits. Are we, do we have, I will put myself in this, I will say this differently. I was previously in this category. I have learned to build different habits the last 15 years that have helped me out. But I was a constant consumer. I had a habit of it didn't matter how much it was. It could be $3, it could be $300. I didn't care. I just really enjoyed the consumer. I see it. I want it. I will buy it. There is little to no consideration of budget, bank account, capacity, impact, any of that. And that became a habit for me. Oh, see cookie, buy cookie. Oh, see smoothie, buy smoothie. See shoes, buy shoes. Until I overdrew my bank account and realized that we had to make some different choices. So that's one habit. I'll give you three and then you can speak to them. So the second one is I'm moving more towards this person. Is really I've dubbed them the ponderer. They're the ones that say, okay, this new speaker for my living room is $500. Let me think about one, find another way to pay for this, meaning a lesser amount. Is do I really need this particular make and model? Let me think about this, and then I will come back in maybe a day or so and actually purchase it. Let me do some consideration before I actually buy it. It doesn't mean I'm not going to. It just means I'm making some thoughts and consideration behind it. Track so far?
Yep. Yeah.
So we have the person who just spends it all. We have the person who thinks about it. And then we have a person on the end of that spectrum who basically talks themselves out of any and every expenditure. I don't need it. I'm not going to buy it. And so we never get new socks. We never get a new t-shirt. We never get a new computer. Our cell phone is from 2012 because we never got a new one. They just talk themselves out of it all. And I want to talk a little bit about sort of the ideology behind that. But those are sort of my three categories. The constant consumer, the ponderer, and the never buy anything talk yourself out of it. So what are your thoughts on that?
So let's take it one at a time, right? So the first person, the first character that just wants to buy and doesn't matter and all that. It's interesting conversation to see how did they grow up, what did they learn, what kind of finances did they have in their house, because it can go two ways. I'll tell you my example. My example was, my family was very conservative. They were immigrants. They were saving their money. Yes, my dad met the neighbor and all that good story, but the income in the house wasn't good. And my parents were very strict on money. When I got my first job and I got my first full-time job and I had all this money coming in, I went nuts. I want this, I want this, I want this, I want to go here, I want to do that. But then I realized I'm saying, wait a minute, what am I doing here, right? So that person that just goes out and spends the money and buys things on impulse, that's the type of person that you need to take your time with and understand, and hopefully educate and guide them to a point saying, okay, you want to buy the shoes, that's okay, but what are you going to do next year when you want to go on vacation? Are you going to put it on your credit card? And do you understand that your credit card, you're paying 24% when you have a balance? It's really and I think in the three cases, it's really understanding what the thought process is and making sure to educate and guide on the credit, on, are you need a new car, your car, the second person, the car is falling apart. It's costing you more to maintain the car than get a new car, right? That's the same conversation. What's happening there? Where did you come from? Do you understand what you're thinking and what you're doing? And then the other person, the saver, they were probably brought up that way, like myself, right? I mean, up until I got my first full-time job in my house, it was you buy what you need and that's it, and you eat everything on your plate because someone could go hungry, and what a waste of money. And I mean, that was also part of my house, right? Uh, and it wasn't until I became educated and started learning how to invest and how to save my money and make my money work for me that I changed that thought. It really is about not being afraid to talk about money, right?
Yeah.
All aspects, whoever the personality is really understanding and being open to, is there a better way to do it? right? That, am I doing it the right way? Yes, I'm happy right now, but what about 5 years from now?
Yeah, and sort of to your point of doing it, is there a better way to do it? So, for people like me who are a natural spender, it's been uh, hampered a little over the years just because of different things. But I still enjoy spending money. I think I told you I went to Smoothie King. You asked, I did something last week. And you asked me what I did to celebrate. I was like, I bought a $7 smoothie from Smoothie King. That's what I did to celebrate. And to me, it just then the dollar amount is irrelevant. It really is just the joy of that sort of gratification. But if we're talking about better ways to do things, instead of maybe gratifying every sort of credit card spend, maybe it's I just put every week $50 into a separate account so that I'm ready to go celebrate or ready to go spend things. I have a couple $100 set aside. So when I go buy that pair of shoes or go buy that nice meal, I just use that debit card and it's good and it's fine. It's not having any sort of negative impact on my budget or my future finances.
But you see, you're planning it. You know that it's going to happen and you're planning it. By the way, what were you celebrating?
I am a accredited financial counselor. It is official. I am an AFC. That's what I'm celebrating.
Congratulations. Congratulations. You deserve that $7 smoothie.
It tasted darn fine. I was very pleased to have it. Very pleased to have it.
See,
Yeah,
but I think it's also important when you talk about saving and cash flow and everything, you have to be able to celebrate those moments too. It can't all be strict all the time. But like you said, you have your little cash on the side that you know you can do it. You're ready for it. It's not like you put it on a credit card and saying, okay, I'll pay that balance off in 3 months. No, because it's costing you more money. That
yes.
$7 smoothie is going to cost you more money if you take 3, 4 months to pay it off, right?
Yeah. It
That's the
just turned
kind of
into
education.
$55.
I'm not asking you to change your behavior. I'm just asking you to understand what it means when you make decisions like that. When you make a decision putting a $7 smoothie and say, I'll pay it off in the next 6 months. What does that mean? That's all.
No, I think that's great. And that kind of comes to the again, those financial habits, those things that we do without really that's what a habit is. We do thinking. We do it is muscle memory for us, right? So we do have financial muscle memories. Anytime I see this, my response is this. It's just very natural. And so it is unlearning and then relearning different habits to really accomplish the same thing,
That's
right?
right.
Like
That's right.
we're still trying to enjoy our lives. We're still trying to provide for our families. We're still trying to stabilize our futures. How we go about that goes a long way in whether or not we're able to actually accomplish that goal or not.
That's right.
Um, so yeah, I still fully support traveling. Please do go see the world, go see your neighbors, go see different small towns, whatever.
Yes. Yes.
More thoughtful about that. And if you are the person that I never want to spend, I never want to do any of that ever, then even for your type of personality, I would encourage you even more to allow yourself those moments to celebrate you made a milestone, you saved $10,000 faster than you thought. Go celebrate with a nice chicken salad sandwich and enjoy your sweet iced tea and celebrate your accomplishment of savings so that you still aren't depriving yourself of enjoying your life, right?
Agreed. I have, I mentioned at the beginning how I've been helping people all my career on my corporate side, and I know people that have reached to their retirement. Their savings is good. They've done well. They're ready to go, but they're afraid to spend it.
Yeah.
They're afraid to spend the money. And we talk about it, and it's baby steps, right? It's okay. It's okay. Just keep to the plans. Keep to the plan, and things will go well. There are other people that I know that's reached this milestone of retirement, and they say, "Great, I have all this money. Let me go blow it, and I wonder what it's going to be like in 2 or 3 years." Right? It's stick to the plan. It is long-term planning and strategy, and it works. It does work.
It does work. And I think in addition to that is it's okay if the plan changes. We
Exactly.
can't go into this with this is my plan and this is my plan in perpetuity. And I don't know anything stronger than stone, I guess marble, granite, whatever the material is. And we can never change. And I think that's why I want to play a game with you here. as we're starting to close things out later in the podcast, but I think I'll put myself in this, and many people I talk to, for them, the budget, it is literally a restrainer, hamstringer, and it can never, ever change. And I think your money changes every single month. That paycheck might be the same, but what it goes to is going to change every single month. Your utility bill, unless you're on some sort of fixed amount, they average it out, it's not going to be the same. So the plan naturally is going to change. And so you may realize, whoa, we backed way off of this particular category. And it turns out we really do spend that much in this category. So I need to change that and adjust something else. And
That's right.
make those changes. It's fluid, it's iterative. There are things that are the same, right? We kind of have our parameters that are there. It's okay if things change along the way. Being okay with that, I think it really gives clients a lot of peace of mind. Oh, I only need to try this for a couple of months and see if it works. Yeah, try it for 60 days, see if it works. If it doesn't, we can change it. It's okay. And they go, okay.
That's great. That's a great way to put it. It's okay to change and it's okay to modify. That's a great way to think. I love it.
Otherwise, what's the motivation? There's a
Yeah.
client that I started working with maybe almost a year ago, and she had a considerable amount of consumer debt and admittedly wanted to pay it off because it was kind of a weight on her. She wanted to pay it down. And I understood why. So we worked through her budget and she put a lot of money towards it. And we were about 2 months in and we were having our follow up. And I just asked her, how's it going? What's happening? And she said, I really don't want to, I really don't like the goals that I set. I really want to do something different. I said, okay, well, what's that? She told me what it was. I said, okay, then we got to figure out what we're going to do with the debt because we can't just let that lapse, right? But if we need to pull that back while you pay for these other things and do these other things, it's your money. And the more you are motivated in this goal, the more you are actually going to accomplish it. So, okay, we can change it. And she just looked at me like, we can? Yeah, we can change it. It's okay. And you will be a lot benefited if we do, because I can't see your sad face every time we come on our calls because you're a lovely person and I can't see a sad face.
It's taking away that myth, right? I can't do, I got to do this and this is all I can do. No, you can do whatever you want and plan for it and do whatever you want with it. It's your money.
It's your money. It's your money. So I think that's actually a good segue. There's something I want to test out a theory for you. And you tell me if it's complete bollocks or if you tell me that I think we're onto something. And I think I'm onto something because of something that you mentioned earlier. But traditionally when we talk to clients and we look through their budgets and we look through their expenses, we have this conversation of needs versus wants, needs versus wants, needs versus wants. And when we have that conversation, sometimes it's very dispiriting for clients to say, well, there's a lot of things that I want, but you're telling me I can't want those things. I have to focus on just the needs. And so it really is this needs versus wants, these kind of incompatible things. But you said earlier, that's where my theory comes in. You said earlier, what are your actual goals? What are you trying to accomplish? And so for me, when I think about budgets, this is my theory, that it's how you are using your money falls into one of these three categories. It satisfies a need, it satisfies a want, or it accomplishes a goal. I either am trying to keep a roof over my head, I want a good steak once a month, or I'm working to finish the certification for my professional job. That's how we are using our resources. And if we understand those three buckets, we feel much more empowered to really work towards and really allocate our money. So that's my theory. It's not a needs versus wants. It really is. Our resources can fall into one of three categories. We are fulfilling a need, satisfying a need, satisfying a want. We are accomplishing a goal. Your thoughts?
So I agree with you on the three buckets. I would just make the goal the first thing.
Okay.
To reach the goal. I want to buy a house, right? Well, yes, that's the goal. And the house costs whatever, $500,000. Let's make it easy numbers. Once you write that goal and then you look at your needs and your wants, then you need to modify, understand what your cash flow is. Then you have to modify because maybe what you think is a need really is a need,
Fair. Fair.
right? And then you can find that money to reach the goal. So what
Yes.
is the goal? Now, I'm just talking a house. It could be retirement. That changes the whole picture because you might have a time horizon, right? You might
Yeah.
have 30, 40 years, or you might have less than 5 years. So things change when you do that. So it's really, to me, it's really what is your goal? What is your top goal that you're trying to do with your finances? Maybe it's just, listen, I just want to make it to the end of the month, right? Maybe I just want to make, especially these days, it's tough. Maybe I just want to make it to the end of the month. Well, that's the goal. Then we have to look at the needs and wants, right? And see how we can help that person make it to the end of the month.
Okay.
So to
I
me, it's the goal.
okay. I have no argument against that. I will say, um, I do like the there is a, and some of it is maybe just be psychology. You feel like you are making progress and you are moving towards something. If this is my goal, it sort of answers the why. Why am I doing this? Why am I reducing this need category? Why am I reducing this one category? Why am I? Oh, right, because my goal is in mind. And when you see yourself sort of making that progress towards it, it improves and increases your motivation. So I think that order does make sense. What's the actual target that we're working for? And then what do we need to do in order to get to that target? But it's no longer conflicting and disparate ways and motivations and it's not I can only have needs I can have once every once in a while, or I have too many needs, and I, it's how is all of this really working together in your actual budget, or budget, spending plan, whichever way you want to say it, to actually do something and accomplish something. So, okay,
Agreed.
so I wasn't too far off in my philosophy and my theory, but I do like the reordering of that. Yeah, what I'm to do. That makes sense.
Yeah, I think the other thing is yes, that's my point of view. You know, you as a client might have a different point of view. My role is not to convince you to the way I think.
Yeah,
My role is to understand what you're thinking, how you're thinking, and help you and educate you and guide you to make it that much better. I mean,
yeah,
that's why I think people come and talk to us, right? They're trying
yeah,
to find something to learn something somewhere. But I think it's important us as counselors to understand what they want and what are they thinking, and
yeah,
then go from there. It's a conversation like we're having now. It's a conversation. I
yeah.
cannot impose my way of thinking on someone else because not everyone agrees with the way I think, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and you made an important point. It's their budget. It's their money. It's not mine. So I've said it many times. It's your money. We can do whatever you want to do with it. It doesn't impact my life one iota. So I want you to
Exactly.
feel like you have full control over your money. You are the
Exactly.
decision. What decisions do you want to make? And do you understand why you were making them? So that kind of goes back to our habits, right? Why are you making these decisions? And it was, I don't know, I hadn't really thought about it. Okay, well, let's try thinking about it. And what would it look
Exactly.
like? What would it look like if you could do X? Or how does that sort of outcome feel? Or think like just sort of really kind of getting into the not really hypotheticals, but really war gaming. What would the end result be of this particular decision? And do you like that result? Do you not like that result? You like it? Okay, let's see what needs to be done to work toward that. You don't like it? Let's not do the things that are required in order to get that end result. But at least we're connecting things to how we actually use our
That's our jobs as counselors. That's our jobs. Our jobs is to open the door, open the eyes to a different way of thinking about your money. By the
yes.
way, you said it a couple times. Yes, we do therapy, right? It is therapy, right? There's always that line. There's always that line, and we have to respect ourselves and we have to respect the client. But, you know, there is that little gray area, and it's always tough, at least for me. I'm not a therapist, right? I'm not a certified therapist. And if it gets to that point, I always say, look, I can only help you to here. We can talk about here. Maybe you should talk to someone else on a neutral party that can
Right.
help you overcome this or that or whatever it is, right?
Yes.
But we do
Yes.
a lot of therapy.
We do. We do a good amount. And I think that's actually why it's so, these conversations that we have amongst ourselves or between ourselves as practitioners is kind of our way of processing and really our own sense of therapy and understanding how we guided those clients to that. Did we hear that correctly? Well, they said this to me, and when I sort of got clarity on that, we went. I do think that's why these are so helpful, right? Is helping us understand how are we understanding our clients because
Yeah, that's great. That's
people, they're people, and they do weird things, and that I don't always understand, but I do endeavor to try to understand it so that we can understand the decision making. So these are valuable discussions. Okay, so
excellent.
before before we close out, I want to do this can either go spectacularly well or it could go so spectacularly wrong, but it's such a flare of flames that it's still going to be great. So I want to do a word
So
association game.
Katrina, give me 1 second. We have a thunderstorm here, and you broke up, so I missed a lot of what you said. You just froze. Sorry.
Sorry, that's okay. I was saying that I want to play a quick word association game with you before we close.
Okay. Okay.
And go either really, really well and become a staple in my podcast when I have guests, or it could go so spectacularly wrong that it's still the podcast content and people will still listen just to sort of point and laugh at us. So either way, I think it's going to be great. But I have 10
Okay.
words. I have 10 words that are personal finance related. And I want you to tell me just sort of the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear that word.
Okay, this is dangerous.
I know that's why I didn't tell you about it beforehand because I wanted real, honest, cerebral reactions.
All right, go ahead.
It's delightfully evil that way. Okay, so the first word is budget.
Budget. I don't like the word budget. That's the first thing that comes to mind. I like cash flow. Budget to me is restrictive.
Okay, next word, fraud.
One more time.
Fraud, like bank fraud.
Fraud.
Yeah.
Fraud. Oh man, you gotta watch out. You gotta be educated. Be careful with the fraud from banks to emails to gas pumps when you're putting in your credit card. Uh, check your statements. Identity theft, fraud. Big, big, big topic today. Big topic. Be careful out there.
Agreed. Be careful out there. Next one, risk tolerance.
Risk tolerance is extremely important. As a matter of fact, when I start talking to clients about investing, you start your basic intro, what investing is, but the first step we do is a risk assessment as to what you feel, how much risk you can take. It's very important to understand what investing does. It's very important to understand how much risk, how much debt you want to take on. Risk is very important, and how to manage risk and be able to understand it is extremely important.
Next, grocery list.
One more time, you broke up.
Grocery list.
Well, let me put it this way. When you said grocery list, the first thing I thought of is me going shopping at the grocery when I'm hungry. That's the first thing I thought of. I think grocery lists are important. We have our grocery list, we have our Costco list, we have our supermarket list. The problem is not to go when you're hungry. That's the problem. Make sure you stick to your plan, and this is what I need, and this is my budget. If you go hungry, forget about it.
Yes. Or if you go and there's nothing in your house and you feel like,
Yes.
oh my gosh, I got to replace everything. And
Yes.
that's
Grocery lists are great. I think they help you manage your grocery fund, your grocery money, right? Because you know what you need, and it's a place to keep it organized, right? This is what I need. This is how much I have, and you go and do your shopping. Just don't
Yeah.
go when you're hungry.
Yeah, don't go when you're hungry. Okay, next one. Transfer. Balance.
Balance transfers are, you mean balance transfer like from a credit card to a credit card, or you mean different types?
Credit card to credit card.
Okay, balance transfer. So you have to be careful of the fees. What are they charging you to do the balance transfer from one credit card to another? I think that's first. And then why are you doing the balance transfer? If it's for mileage points or for cash rewards, those topics. I'm not in favor of those things anymore. I mean, if you were to ask me about rewards, I would look for cash rewards because the mileage for airfare, every company, every airline knows you're doing it, and if you look at what it costs to travel on miles, it's expensive. It's expensive. So be careful on balance transfers on the cost of doing that transfer and why are you doing the transfer. If it's because you're going to a lower credit card, and I'm talking at least 2 to 5% lower, I understand. But be careful what they're charging you to transfer that money.
Yes. And be careful if there is a deadline for you to actually transfer that money over. Otherwise, you will be penalized if you don't do it within that same time frame as well. And if the percentage then rises after that deadline. So whatever you're transferring, make sure you transfer within that allotted time. Otherwise,
That's right. That's right.
Okay. That's the first 5. You did great. We have 5 more, halfway there.
Okay. All right.
Next, life insurance coverage.
Whew. I think it's important. What I also think is that you become educated on the different types of life insurance. Also, do you need, if you have a full-time job that is offering you life insurance, do you need to supplement that? Many places that offer you have a full-time job and life insurance is part of a benefit. If they were to terminate you, not for performance, but for restructuring or something like that, you could buy into that life insurance, which might be cheaper, but you need to be educated. I think life insurance is important for families, right? You want to make sure if something happens to you, you want to make sure your family is taken care of. But the important thing is to be educated on the different types of insurance and be careful with costs, right?
Yes.
The
Yes.
difference between whole life and term life and variable life, the costs are tremendous and the fees are tremendous. So become educated.
Yes. Agreed. Um, and be okay with having the conversation. No one wants to talk about their untimely passing. It's very uncomfortable, but it's an even more uncomfortable discussion for those sweet people that you've left behind when you don't have that conversation. It's way, way harder of what do we do now versus what can we do if and when this happens.
That's right.
Way, way better.
Agreed.
Okay, next one. 401k or IRA.
Well, so again, get educated. But the short answer to me is 401k. Why? Because you can put more money away tax free in a 401k than the limits you have on an IRA, right? But I'm not a CFP, I'm not a tax consultant. You need to check your taxes, right? And making sure that a 401k long term is beneficial. Remember, even you put away tax free now in a 401k, when you do pull the money out when you're 59 and a half or 65, you have to pay taxes on that, right? In a Roth, and you can have up to $25,000 in a 401k. Under 50, over 50, you can have 30,000. You can put away $30,000. In an IRA, there's a limit of $7,500. So the savings part, the tax advantage part, I think is still in a 401k. But the Roth IRA is a fantastic tool where you put away your money now, you already paid the tax on it, and when you pull it out, it's tax free, right? Again, become educated on the products, seek advice, talk to people, get guidance. Don't be afraid to talk and ask questions.
Agreed. This is your future. This is how you are going to take care of yourself and provide for yourself when you are no longer working in retirement. Kind of back to what Bert and I talked about earlier is this is your time. You planned for this. Now you're in a retirement. Know what the actual implications are before you get there. So
That's right.
excellent. Next, we talked a little bit about this, but we're going to go for it. Emergency fund.
It's the number one thing. In my book, after understanding your cash flow, how much can you put in an emergency fund if you don't have one? Uh, Unexpected events will happen. How are you going to manage those unexpected events? Hopefully, they're not major events, but even a medical event, right? And you have to pay your deductible. You haven't paid your deductible. All of a sudden, you have a $5,000, $10,000 bill from a hospital because something happened. Do you really want to owe that money on a credit card? Do you really want interest to accrue there? And maybe that's not a good example, but the emergency fund are for those unexpected things that are going to happen. The question to me is that I always ask is not if you should have an emergency fund. It's how are you going to manage when something unexpected comes up?
Yeah.
And as simple as tires for your car. Wait, to get tires for your car these days, it's going to be $300-$400 for one,
Yeah.
right? You times that times four, it's going to throw your cash flow. You're going to put that on the credit card and you're going to say, oh, I'm going to pay it off in 6 months. How much is that costing you?
A
You're
lot.
giving 24% away to the credit card company,
Love it. Yes.
right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
to me, emergency fund is right there with cash flow, right there.
I think I agree with that. Two
Okay.
more. Ready?
Yep.
Travel planning.
I'm sorry, what planning? Important. To me, for me, just as important as paying my rent. I need to be able to have in my mind that I'm going away for the weekend, that I'm going to do something because I need to give myself, my wife, something besides the day-to-day grind, right? And that's why I think it's important to pay yourself first. Your first expense should be you, whether it's for clothes or it's travel or whatever it is. But for me, travel is really important. The people that I work with, the co-workers, the peers, I always ask them, did you take your vacation? Oh no, I haven't had time this year. And they leave it on the table and they lose the time. I don't understand that. I'm sorry, but I don't understand that. You
Yeah.
need to get out.
Take a half day, right? Take it early on Friday, or come in, take a half day on that Monday morning, whatever it is, to just sort of give yourself a little bit of time to breathe. It's so important.
And I'm sure there's something to do in your town. Take a day. I'm sure there's something that to go see, to go do, to go experience. There's something.
Yes.
Take a day. Take a day.
I do have I'll get to the last one here in a second, but I love talking about travel. And it, to Bert's point, it doesn't have to be I'm taking a 6-month cruise around the world. It could be I'm taking a day trip to a cute little small town. I'm going to explore their downtown living. I'm going to have a nice hamburger with my wife and my kids, and we're going to come back for 2.5 hours, and we're going to feel restored. We're going to have some memories, some laughs. We may talk about how good or terrible the food was, but you just have a moment to really not think about the normal day-to-day things. And when you're back in that day-to-day, strangely, you still feel pretty rejuvenated, re-energized, and refreshed to do what you need to do. So I'm a big fan. I am somewhat hypocritical because I have not done that as much as I would like to have done. But I still firmly stand by the list of the top 10 small towns in Texas. I still need to get
Agreed.
to. Definitely do it. Okay.
Agreed.
This is the last one. We talked a little bit about this one already, but we're going to do it anyway. The last one is credit card reward points.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about it. Again, educate yourself. Don't believe what the salesperson on the other, I shouldn't say don't believe. Be careful with what the person on the other side of the line is telling you. Compare. And don't forget ChatGPT. I love ChatGPT. I love it. It's so smart. It's so much smarter than I am. But you have to validate what ChatGPT says, right? You don't take it word for word. But cash rewards, you really What is the goal of the cash reward? Do you want miles? Okay, just make sure you understand what it takes to fly on miles these days. I like the cash reward cards. Yes, it's only 2%, it's only 1%, but it's cash. You can pay your bill with that cash, right? So educate yourself. Take the time to learn the difference of cards and use ChatGPT.
Yes. I would go. The only thing I would say differently is not that I necessarily disagree with that. It's the kind of to the why are you spending it? Because sometimes if you're spending it just to get the cash back, sometimes you find yourself in that overspending category. Well, it's 2% back, and you go, well, you just literally spent $3,000 to get what, $60 back, whatever the math is. Were you going to spend that $2,000 anyway? Because if the answer is yes, then okay. But if you weren't, and your entire goal is to get 2% back, when you've just spent way, way more money, that's more than what you're actually going to get back. So even kind of thinking through the actual literal mathematics of were you going to spend that money in the first place? No, then we can find another way to do that. If you were, totally understand.
Agreed 100% because listen, if you are going to buy something for $3,000 and not pay it off at the end of the month, you're going to be paying more in interest than the 2% you're getting back. Right?
Yes. Yes. This is where the calculator comes in, and if I could get to my drawer, I would. But it's a calculator. It really is the math. It's that we will find ourselves into, oh, well, it's just this. Oh, it's just that. And you go, but what did that actually cost you? What did you actually spend to do the, oh, it's just, that goes back to being intentional and what money is doing. So I just want our audience to know that even with that word association, there were so many good bits of information in what Bert said. Getting ourselves educated, understand fees, understand the whys behind what we're doing it, understand the importance of I took it knowing the different products for life insurance, very term and whole and variable life insurance, and understanding the reason behind emergency funds. There was so much, even though it was sort of a silly, kids game of word association, there was so much information and education that you still gain from that 8-minute interaction that we just had. Some good laughs, some good giggles, but also really, really good pieces of information. So I am Bert, thank you. I've enjoyed this discussion, but I always enjoy our discussion, so I'm definitely biased. But thank you for sharing your wisdom with me and your wisdom with those that are listening to this podcast. So I really, really enjoyed having you here. Thank you so much.
No, I got to thank you for allowing me to have my first podcast. I really enjoyed it here. And my favorite moment was when I said the word disciplined and you just cringed. I loved it.
Again, I was doing it on behalf of our listeners. I would never turn my nose up at the word discipline. Ever turn my nose.
And congratulations on your certification. It's a lot of work. I'm still working to get mine, right? So I know what it takes. Congratulations.
You will be there in 2026. That is your year to do it. I will be right here to celebrate with you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you all again for listening and joining us today. I know that your time is very, very valuable. So thank you for sharing it with us. And with that, Bert and I are going to sign off. And as I always say, until we meet, keep working on the
change. We at Studio M Financial appreciate you for taking time out of your day to listen to us. If you have any comments or questions related to today's content, please feel free to send those our way. The email address is letstalk@studiomfinancial.net, or you can connect with us on social media. If you would like to be notified of future podcasts, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Studio M Financial. As always, until we meet, keep working on the change.